The session is being recorded, and in today's class, we are focusing on IELTS listening part 4 test 1, जिसको students कहते हैं सर नहीं होता क्यों नहीं होता भाई देखो कुछ टिप्स और ट्रिक्स याद रखो डैश से पहले वाली बात तो बोलेगा ही नहीं वो कंफर्म नहीं बोलेगा और पार्ट 4 के अंदर तो एक ही इंसान बोल रहा होता है मोनोलॉग होता है लेकिन ये जो दा लिखा हुआ है द डैश बिकॉज ऑफ इट्स जनरल एडेप्टेबिलिटी तो दा तो वो बोलेगा सिमिलर टू की जगह वो दूसरा फ्रेज बोलेगा अनयूजुअल की जगह वो कुछ और बोलेगा अच्छा अब जब आप सिमिलर टू को आप सुनने मत बैठिएगा वो यहां से शुरू होगा द पिजन बिकॉज द वॉल्स ऑफ द सिटी बिल्डिंग्स आर The pigeons because walls of the city buildings are. In fact, many urban animals को कानों में आवाज जाएगी तुम्हारे urban animals आएगा तुम्हारे कान में pigeon तुम्हारे कान में जाएगा city life तुम्हारे कान में जाएगा फिर उसके बाद वो किस तरह से दा बोलता हुआ निकलेगा that's a problem. अब देखो लिखा हुआ है she found the size of their dash had increased. किस चीज का साइज बढ़ गया था अब इंक्रीज को वो कैसे लिखेगा रिसेंट रिसर्च का वर्ड वो बोलेगा ऊपर ये जितनी बातें लिखी है ये बोलेगा म्यूजियम का वर्ड तुम्हारे कान में जाएगा उसने क्या फाउंड किया उसकी रिसर्च में एनालिसिस में क्या नजर आया She suggests that this may be due to the need to locate new sources of बोलेगा वो and dash to deal with new dangers of का वर्ड आएगा तुम्हारे कानों में फोकस की जगह पर आ सकता है emphasized focused on the urban and rural blackbirds. She found urban birds were often braver की कोई और वर्ड बोल सकता है but were afraid of ये जो दो वर्ड्स है बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट है that situations that were dash फिर कहते हैं he found that some animals respond to attract to हो सकता है by producing lower level of hormones producing का मतलब producing hormones का वर्ड आएगा animals respond to Sarah dash team squirrel use their dash to help communicate क्या इस्तेमाल करते हैं जो squirrels होते हैं वो क्या अपना इस्तेमाल करते हैं to help them communicate species of animals may develop which are unique to cities however some changes may not be dash may not be what may not be, might not be, could not be इस तरह के वर्ड्स आपके सामने आ सकते हैं मैं साथ साथ चलूंगा आपको और गाइड करता हुआ चलूंगा कि देखिए यहाँ पर उसने कौन सा वर्ड बोला ठीक है आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू प्ले योर ऑडियो वेट कीजिएगा कैमरा जी ऑडियो प्ले कीजिए थैंक यू वेरी मच पार्ट 4 बुक 13 टेस्ट 1 बस ये वो वक्त है जो आपको दिया गया है कि आप देख लें अपने सवाल को एक अच्छी जगह Now listen and answer questions 31 to 40 वो कहीं बीच में नहीं रुकेगा 31 to 40 आपको सुनने हैं ठीक है अपने पास पेपर में जवाब लिखिएगा चैट्स में लिखने की जरूरत नहीं
into cities, environments, and on. We're going to be looking at. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. Hi. Today we're going to be looking at animals in urban environments. And I'm going to be telling you about some research on how they're affected by these environments. Now, in evolutionary terms, urban environments represent huge upheavals, the sorts of massive changes that usually happen over millions of years. And we used to think that only a few species could adapt to this new environment. One species which is well known as being highly adaptable is the crow, and there have been various studies about how they manage to learn new skills. Another successful species is the pigeon, because they're able to perch on ledges on the walls of city buildings.
यस, पहला जवाब अपना लिखकर मुझे फॉरवर्ड करें। क्या लिखा? उसने पिजन का वर्ड बोल दिया ना, जब पिजन का वर्ड उसने बोल दिया इसका मतलब ये कि आपका जवाब निकल गया है, तो आपको अपना जवाब लिखना था। वैसे तो आप रोज ही देखते होंगे, ठीक है, लेकिन एक देखो, तुम आप सोचो, तुमने कोई वर्ड सुना था पिजन के अलावा, कोई और परिंदा तुमने सुना था? सोचो, सोचो, सोचो। बस ये रोज ही दिखता है तुम्हें अपनी गली में। बस अब जब उसने द पिजन्स बोला ना, तो मैंने पहले का जवाब लगा दिया। मैंने पहले का जवाब पिजन को सुनने, जब उसने पिजन बोला ना, द नेक्स्ट इज द पिजन, तो उसने पहला जो बोला था वो मेरे कान में गुजरा था, तो मैं कहा ओहो अच्छा जी ये बोल रहा है।
Highly adaptable is the crow, and there have been various studies about how they managed species could adapt to this new environment.
अच्छा ये देखिएगा, ये आपको
One
इसमें
species
क्लियर हो
which
रहा है?
is well known as being highly adaptable is the crow, and there have been various studies about how they managed to learn new skills. Another successful species
ठीक है, क्रॉ आ गया कानों में।
is the pigeon, because they're able to perch on ledges on the walls of city buildings, just like they once perched on cliffs by the sea.
लाइक, लाइक का वर्ड आया आपके पास? लाइक का वर्ड उसने भी आपके सामने बोला, लाइक, 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 सिमिलर टू। मैं सिमिलर टू का सिनोनिम सुनने के लिए बैठा हुआ था, उसने फौरन बोला, क्या बोला दोबारा सुनना।
The crow, and there have been various studies about how they manage to learn new skills. Another successful species is the pigeon, because they're able to perch on ledges on the walls of city buildings, just like they once perched on cliffs by the sea. But in fact,
मिल गया, जस्ट लाइक, लाइक, लाइक क्लिफ्स, सिमिलर टू क्लिफ्स, सिमिलर टू क्लिफ्स। अच्छा अब अनयूजुअल की जगह देखना, वो कौन कौन? क्लिफ्स बेटा, क्लिफ्स नहीं, क्लिफ्स। क्लिफ्स के ऊपर क्या करेगा पिजन? क्लिफ्स के ऊपर जाएगा ना। In fact, many urban animals are adapting their unusual. अब unusual क्या हो सकता है? Strange या unique? सुनिएगा।
we're now finding that these early immigrants were just the start of a more general movement of animals into cities and of adaptation by these animals to city life. And one thing that researchers are finding especially interesting is the speed with which they're doing this. We're not talking about gradual evolution here. These animals.
Yes. वेरी गुड शहरदारो, वेरी गुड। उसने अनयूजुअल की जगह कोई वर्ड नहीं बोला, लेकिन उसने एक ऐसी बात, जिस तरह से उसने कहा कि द थिंग व्हिच द रिसर्चर्स आर ऑब्जर्विंग और डूइंग, दैट्स द स्पीड। दोबारा सुनिएगा।
Into cities and of adaptation by these animals to city life. And one thing that researchers are finding especially interesting is the speed with which they're
especially interesting, जब उसने ये बोला especially interesting, that's actually unusual, especially interesting.
doing this. We're not talking about gradual evolution here. These animals are changing fast. Let me tell you about some of the studies that have been carried out in this area. So, in the University of Minnesota, a biologist called Emily Snellrud and her colleagues looked at specimens of urbanized small mammals, such as mice and gophers, that had been collected in Minnesota and that are now kept in museums there. And she looked at specimens that had been collected over the last 100 years, which is a very short time in evolutionary terms. And she found that during that time, these small mammals had experienced a jump in brain size when compared to rural mammals.
Yes. किस चीज का साइज? Size of their Very good, very good, very good, very good, very good, very good. Brains. Size of their brains had increased. दोबारा सुनिएगा.
Specimens that had been collected over the last 100 years, which is a very short time in evolutionary terms. And she found that during that time, these small mammals had experienced a jump in brain size when compared to rural mammals. Now, we can't be sure this means they're more intelligent, but since the sizes of other parts of the body didn't change, it does suggest that something cognitive was going on. And Snellrud thinks that this change might reflect the cognitive demands of adjusting to city life, having to look in different places to find food, for example, and coping with a whole new set of dangers.
Yes. क्या कह रहा है? That might be due to need to locate new sources of. इसकी वजह क्या थी? New sources of food. Very good. New sources of food. Dash focused on the. Focused on the.
Like the cognitive demands of adjusting to city life, having to look in different places to find food, for example, and coping with a whole new set of dangers. Then over in Germany, at the Max Planck Institute, there's another biologist called Katerina Miranda, who's done some experiments with blackbirds living in urban and rural areas. And she's been looking not at their anatomy, but at their behavior. So as you might
किस चीज के ऊपर? वो उसकी बॉडी पे नहीं देख रही थी. जो डॉक्टर्स है वो फॉरन ना. She focused on the autonomy. ये autonomy डॉक्टर्स को पता होगा फॉरन. She was not focusing on the autonomy. मतलब उसका बॉडी स्ट्रक्चर पे फोकस नहीं कर रहे थे. वो किस पे फोकस कर रहे थे? वेरी गुड. वो उसके किसके फोकस कर रहे थे? सुनिएगा दोबारा. Behavior.
Planck Institute. There's another biologist called Katerina Miranda, who's done some experiments with blackbirds living in urban and rural areas. And she's been looking not at their anatomy, but at their behavior. So as you might expect, she's found.
ठीक है. Behavior की स्पेलिंग ही नहीं आती हमारे फॉर्म को. सही है. अब सोच रहे हैं IOUR लिखे या IOR लिखे. दोनों में से कोई सी भी लिख ले, आपको नंबर मिल जाएंगे. इसके अलावा मत लिखिएगा कोई और. ठीक है, आगे चलते हैं.
That the urban blackbirds tend to be quite. Katerina Miranda, who's done some experiments with blackbirds living in urban and rural areas. And she's been looking not at their anatomy, but at their behavior. So as you might expect, she's found that the urban blackbirds tend to be quite bold. They're prepared to face up to a lot of threats that would frighten away their country counterparts. But there's one type of situation that does seem to frighten the urban blackbirds, and that's anything new, anything they haven't experienced before. And if you think.
Yes, anything. क्या बोला उसने? Anything. Very good. Anything. Are afraid of the situations that were. नहीं, दोबारा सुन लो बेटा. That were बहुत आसान था.
Prepared to face up to a lot of threats that would frighten away their country counterparts. But there's one type of situation that does seem to frighten the urban blackbirds, and that's anything new, anything they haven't experienced before. And
anything new हो गया ना. That anything new, the new situations. ठीक है, आगे.
Think about it. That's quite sensible, their country counterparts. But there's one type of situation that does seem to frighten the urban blackbirds, and that's anything new, anything they haven't experienced before.
बेटा आप सिर्फ न्यू लिखेंगी ना बहक. एनीथिंग न्यू तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना. आप न्यू लिखेंगी ना. NEW न्यू. चले.
Think about it. That's quite sensible for a bird living in the city. Jonathan Atwell in Indiana University is looking at how a range of animals respond to urban environments. He's found that when they're under stress, their endocrine systems react by reducing the amount of hormones such as corticosterone into their.
Yes. He found that some animals respond to dash by producing lower levels of hormones. Very good. Stress. दोबारा सुन ले.
University is looking at how a range of animals respond to urban environments. He's found that when they're under stress, their endocrine systems react by reducing the amount of hormones such as corticosterone into their blood. It's a sensible seeming adaptation. A rat that gets scared every time a subway train rolls past won't be very successful. There's just one more study I'd like to mention, which is by Sarah Parton and her team. And they've been looking at how squirrels communicate in an urban environment. And they found that a routine part of their communication is carried out by waving their tails.
Yes. Use their, waving their का वर्ड देखिए मिल गया आपको tails. अब tails की स्पेलिंग क्या लिखेंगे? कहानी वाली tails ये TAIL लिखिएगा, TALE मत लिख दीजिएगा. ये अक्सर इस तरह के वर्ड्स आते हैं जो सिमिलर वर्ड्स होते हैं, होमोफोन्स जिसे आप लोग कहते हैं. ठीक है, चले. A species of animals may develop which are unique to cities. Some changes may not be. Chale.
You do also see this in the country, but it's much more prevalent in cities, possibly because it's effective in a noisy environment. So, what are the long-term implications of this? One possibility is that we may see completely new species developing in cities. But on the other hand, it's possible that not all of these adaptations will be permanent. Once the animals got accustomed to its.
Yes, some changes may not be, might not be permanent. Some changes might not be permanent, may not be permanent. आगे बात समझ. ठीक है, चले. अब दूसरा इसका आपके सामने टेस्ट 2 है. इसको देखिए. कहता है the ability to recall details, example the time and the dash of past events. The time and the dash of past events are different to semantic memory, the ability to remember general information about the dash, which does not involve recalling dash information. फिर कहता है involves receiving and processing information. The more dash and given to an event, the more successfully it can be encoded. To remember a dash, it is useful to have a strategy for encoding such information. फिर कहते हैं added to a, फिर कहते हैं the, और फिर कहते हैं dash of an object near to the place. ठीक है, मैं कहीं रुकूंगा नहीं, इंटरप्ट नहीं करूंगा. आप सुने और इसको करें, देखें 10 में से 4 आते हैं या 6 आते हैं.
Some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Okay. आंसर अपने पास नोट कीजिएगा.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today, we'll be continuing the series of lectures on memory by focusing on what is called episodic memory and what can happen if this is not working properly. Episodic memory refers to the memory of an event or episode. Episodic memories allow us to mentally travel back in time to an event from the past. Episodic memories include various details about these events. For example, when an event happened and other information, such as the location. To help understand this concept, try to
देखो-
remember the last time you ate dinner at a restaurant. The ability to remember where you ate, who you were with, and the items you ordered are all features of an episodic memory. Episodic memory is distinct from another type of memory called semantic memory. This is the type of factual memory that we have in common with everyone else. That is your general knowledge of the world. To build upon a previous example, remembering where you parked your car is an example of episodic memory. But your understanding of what a car is and how an engine works are examples of semantic memory. Unlike episodic memory, semantic memory isn't dependent on recalling personal experiences. Episodic memory can be thought of as a process with several different steps of memory processing, encoding, consolidation, and retrieval. The initial step is called encoding. This involves the process of receiving and registering information which is necessary for creating memories of information or events that you experience. The degree to which you can successfully encode information depends on the level of attention you give to an event while it's actually happening. Being distracted can make effective encoding very difficult. Encoding of episodic memories is also influenced by how you process the event. For example, if you were introduced to someone called Charlie, you might make the connection that your uncle has the same name. Future recollection of Charlie's name is much easier if you have a strategy to help you encode it. Memory consolidation, the next step in forming an episodic memory, is the process by which memories of encoded information are strengthened, stabilized, and stored to facilitate later retrieval. Consolidation is most effective when the information being stored can be linked to an existing network of information. Consolidation makes it possible for you to store memories for later retrieval indefinitely. Forming strong memories depends on the frequency with which you try to retrieve them. Memories can fade or become harder to retrieve if they aren't used very often. The last step in forming episodic memories is called retrieval, which is the conscious recollection of encoded information. Retrieving information from episodic memory depends upon semantic, olfactory, auditory, and visual factors. These help episodic memory retrieval by acting as a prompt. For example, when recalling where you parked your car, you may use the color of a sign close to where you parked. You actually have to mentally travel back to the moment you parked. There are a wide range of neurological diseases and conditions that can affect episodic memory. These range from Alzheimer's to schizophrenia to autism. An impairment of episodic memory can have a profound effect on individuals' lives. For example, the symptoms of schizophrenia can be reasonably well controlled by medication. However, patients' episodic memory may still be impaired, and so they are often unable to return to university or work. Recent studies have shown that computer-assisted games designed to keep the brain active can help improve their episodic memory. Episodic memories can help people connect with others, for instance, by sharing intimate details about their past, something individuals with autism often have problems with. This may be caused by an absence of a sense of self. This is essential for the storage of episodic memory and has been found to be impaired in children.
Yes. क्या स्कोर आया? Location, world, personal attention, name, network, frequency, color, brain, self. अच्छा, उसने देखिए कलर फ्रीक्वेंसी के बाद कलर बोलने में कितनी देर लगाई थी. वो बोलती रही. मुझे एक लम्हे के लिए लगा शायद मेरे कानों से निकल गया है. फिर उसने आकर कितनी देर बाद जाकर कलर का वर्ड इस्तेमाल किया. ये आपने नोटिस किया कि आखिर में वो कितना उसने फजूल बातें की अपने, और जाकर कलर पे जाकर उतनी देर बाद आई. तकरीबन उसने मेरे ख्याल से कुछ 7, 8, 9, 10 सेंटेंसेस बोले होंगे, फिर वो कलर पर आई. ऐसा ही है. 6, 10, 8, 8. ठीक है. असाइनमेंट नोट करें. बुक 13 सेक्शन 4 टेस्ट 3 और 4 रात सोने से पहले करना है लाजमी तौर पर, और अपना स्कोर मुझे लाजमी व्हाट्सएप करना है. जो बच्चे व्हाट्सएप कर देते हैं, मुझे पता है कितने बच्चे पढ़ रहे. 13 का टेस्ट 3 और 4 आप मुझे फॉरवर्ड करेंगे अभी के अभी. मैं आपको सेक्शन 4 के व्हाट्सएप लिंक्स व्हाट्सएप कर रहा हूं. आप मुझे अभी सुने और अभी अपना स्कोर फॉरवर्ड करें. सिर्फ 15 मिनट लगेगा आपको, नॉट मोर देन दिस. ठीक है. थैंक यू वेरी मच. लेट्स कॉल इट अ डे. अपना बहुत ख्याल रखिएगा. कल 2 से 3 एकेडमिक वालों का एक एक्स्ट्रा क्लास है, और रात 10 बजे लिसनिंग का मौका है. पार्ट 1, पार्ट 2, पार्ट 3, पार्ट 4 तमाम स्टूडेंट्स के लिए. ठीक है. अपने आप को जरा देखें, जज करें कहाँ स्टैंड कर. अस्सलाम वालेकुम.